I'll start off number one with some injuries for you. So to start, Bilal Nichols has a toe. Javon Wims has an appendix that we're getting him looked at right now, and then Calitro with a hamstring. So we want to make sure we stay on top of that. A couple other bumps and bruises throughout that come with the game that we're going to have to, just keep an eye on and make sure they're taking good care of themselves as we head into the next couple of days off for this final game. The positives from today, which obviously it wasn't, there was more that wasn't good than good, but the positives, I thought, with our Brian Johnson having a 54-yard field goal, I thought that was good at the end, just for him, in that situation. The touchdown catch by Rodney Adams, so he just had a baby last night, so he didn't get much sleep, so to take advantage of that was good. Edwards, Mario having the 2 sacks, Travis Gibson with 1, and Kamara with 1, and, getting the 2 takeaways. That's the good. Unfortunately, there was more stuff that we need to get better at, and the penalties today for us offensively was 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And that's where we want to make sure that the discipline of making sure that there was no rhythm today at all. We didn't have the rhythm going. So we want to make sure that when you get a first down, or it's 1st and 10 or 1st and 5, you're not getting a false start. You're not getting an illegal formation. You're not getting a chop block, et cetera. Defensively, they had those couple first series there where they were really getting first downs and had the time of possession and scoring touchdowns. So, and then special teams, we had a lot of stuff there on special teams that we can improve at. So overall, I am happy that it's preseason so that we can evaluate, because in the end, I know we all want to win and we want that, but we were just talking in there. It's like last week, right? We felt good and there's a high, but you got to be careful with that. And it's just like here now too. It's low, but you got to be careful. So we want to make sure that we stay right in the middle grounds and understand that today wasn't good enough. That's my job, to make sure that we're better. We got to practice better. We got to play in the game better. And but in the end, the evaluation process for us is to see where these guys are. And now, we're a week away from making more decisions. So go ahead.
It's only preseason, but
yeah.
What does the score mean you, particularly at halftime when it's pretty?
Yeah. No. I mean, it matters, because you don't want that. I mean, we care about that. But for us, what we got to do, and I think too, as you're out there, and it's easy to do, you get into a point where sometimes you start playing. When it gets out of hand like that, you start getting to the point like it's a real game, and you can become one-dimensional, which at the balance is you still want to try to stay within your plays that you have to be able to evaluate where the guys are. That's the hard part, and so, but when it gets out of hand like that by the first half, you got to regroup. Justin came in, and I thought you felt like, we were moving the ball a little bit. We had the first series, but then we started moving the ball. We got down to the red zone and we stalled. And again, we got to look at the plays, see what we're doing well, what's going on, and get better. But we care about the score, but we don't, in preseason, we don't put the emphasis on it like we do last week or this week.
Matt, you knew obviously some of what you're going to be getting from Fields when you guys drafted him. But
yeah.
You've seen repeated examples of him improvising when a play would be dead for a lot of other quarterbacks.
Sure.
What do you make of that strength that he brings to the table?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's when he's back there doing things. I mean, how many times did we see where the pocket collapses and all of a sudden you go, okay, here we go again. He's going to go outside of the edge and take off. And the other thing is he's being super smart. He's not taking dumb hits. That's you always are scared down there when you're down there. He's going to take a senseless hit when he's scrambling. But I love the fact that that's a weapon when you have him using his legs like that. That's real. And I think we've felt that the last 2 weeks with him. And it's neat to see, the one thing that you notice with him and is, you get to game day and he really gets that laser focus on game day. You feel that. So I know he was itching to get in there a little bit earlier, and now he got going in the third.
When you see that high potential and you know that not every quarterback can do that, you're trying to gauge whether this guy is ready to start in the NFL.
Sure.
I mean, how do you weigh that against riding out some rookie hiccups?
Right. Yeah. That's the $1 million question. And I think, when you look at a guy like Justin and you see the things that he's doing, are there some things that he can get better at? Yeah, for sure. That's going to be, we're going to say that 3 years from now. But at the same point in time, for him, there's also things that he's doing better probably than we thought coming into this, which is good too. Like, that's what we want. We want that to happen. I'll also say, and again, when you look at Andy and his situation, going out there to start, and he's got Mooney and a couple guys that are out there that are starters, but he's got several that are not out there too. And I'm sure there's some frustration there with that, with the balance of where guys are health-wise and him being able to really get into a rhythm with the guys. So that's what we all got to just continue to understand. But then I was happy for Andy to be able to get that ball to Rodney for that score.
What was the protection breakdown on the big hit that Justin took?
Yeah, we put something on there that's going to take a little bit longer, and that's a learning lesson for Justin. I mean, it was scat protection, and the guy came off the edge, and so he's got to get rid of the ball there, or else, at least what they were telling me on the sideline. So again, Justin said, "Hey man, I learned from that. It's a play where scat, they have one extra than us, and between the offensive line, the quarterback, the wide receivers, the coaching staff, everybody, that's one you take. You say, okay, next time we see this, we got to go like this. We got to do this or do that." So I'm glad he was okay. It always scares you that helmet pops up like that, but Justin's tough, man. He's a tough dude.
More quarterback than O-line on that one.
What's that?
More quarterback.
No, it was everybody. I mean, it's everybody. It's always it's everybody, man. It's not just one person, right? It's everybody.
Matt, you were saying this time last week that you were going to try and get Justin some more work with the ones. We didn't see a ton of it in practice.
Mm-hmm.
Can you evaluate him when he's playing with third-string guys? And is there any plan in the next week or 9 days or whatever to see how he looks alongside guys who have a better chance of making the team?
Right. So the first part of the question would be with our ones, whether it's wide receivers, tight ends, the running backs, we're trying to make sure that they're really good and healthy for week 1, 2. So they're like in practice with how many reps they get and what they do. And so, Andy's not even really necessarily getting at a whole lot. But for us, I do believe in Bill Lazor and Flip and the rest of our coaches, myself, in regards to understanding where Justin's at, to be able to know and to take that into account. Like continue to get stuff, routes on air and different things with them. But at the same point in time, I just think that he's playing really well right now. Justin is, and that's a good thing. You never know. 4 weeks ago, I couldn't have told you that, but he's doing well. So we want to keep that going, and I guess some of that you just have to assume that it would be good.
He's playing behind an offensive line today that I think had one NFL start among the 5 of them.
Yeah.
Does it concern you?
Sure. No, it does. I mean, it's you want to be careful, and especially you want to try to be careful of getting too one-dimensional. But again, the evaluation process of seeing that those players, the depth players, it is what it is. It's just kind of the situation we're in right now. There's not much that we can do for that. And so we just got to keep doing our best to evaluate him based off of that play that time. Taking everything else put aside, how did he do that play?
Just having worked with Mitch as long as you did.
Yeah.
And I'm rooting for him, of course, on the other team, but I mean,
Sure.
Preseason, it's vanilla stuff, but
Yeah.
what do you think of the way that he moved the ball?
Yeah, I thought he looked really good. He was playing very efficient. Making good throws, and again, we're for us the personal side of that. It's always you spend 3 years with somebody and you try to help and do everything you can, and he does the same. And so he's on a new path, and we're on a new path, and I think he did a good job today, and they did a good job coaching. So it's credit to them.
There was a break in the action when you were with the officials on the tablet.
Yeah.
Seeking an explanation. Was that the crackback?
Yeah. So that's part of one of the new rules that they're putting in, and it's a little bit. We're learning through that, but it gets really gray with where that tight end box is, right, and the alignment of the guy. So what I need to do is make sure that if that's a rule, if that's the new rule that they're putting in, we got to be aware of that, and we got to be really good with making sure that doesn't happen. So the referees were awesome. They were great with explaining it. They stuck to what they said and what they saw. So we got to make sure we adjust. And then the same thing on the 2-point play. I think it was Khalil that it got called for cutting. That's a brand new rule that's a play in our playbook for a long time, and now we can't do that. So our guys know that, but it's hard because you're in the moment. So we might have to teach that a little different.
The throwback to Jesse.
Yeah.
What did you kind of see both from Justin and Jesse on that play?
We were working on that this week, and I thought it was a great time the timing of Justin. He didn't have as much time this time, and he had to make a good throw, and then for Jesse to make a great diving catch and stick with it. Those are chunk plays. We want to get more of those, but you got to credit the offensive line, Justin and Jesse and everybody else for running that play pretty good.
Matt, when you have so many different variables in terms of guys out, starters out,
Yeah.
whoever your opponent's playing, if they even have starters out, I guess how much stock can you put into what we've seen the last couple of weeks, where it seems like your first team offense for the most part has been pretty stagnant,
Yeah.
with the exception of the deep ball.
Yeah.
But then Justin comes in and it seems like there's a spark, and all of a sudden you're moving.
Sure. Again, there's variables in all of that, in that question in our day. As much as I tell everybody I love the preseason, I hate the preseason for that reason too. It's because there's some of that. It's hard. Like, you look at the coaches on the sideline and they're just like scratching their head because a guy's out. You got a guy here at this position. Now, you don't even know who some of the positions are. Like, for instance, wide receiver. If you go 3 wideouts, we're mixing and matching guys that are an X, a zebra, and a Z that you don't even know who it is that you're calling the play for, because there's substitutions that are going on and guys get dinged. And that's both sides. That's just not us. So that's the most challenging part of preseason. That said, we want to make sure too that, like you're saying, we want to make sure that we understand the variables of all that, but we got to still play clean. Like, we got to play clean. The penalties, all that stuff, that can't happen, or at least it needs to be minimized.
But does that make it more or less tempting to want to see what Justin can do earlier in the game with more of what you?
It does. It does.
Can we see that next week, maybe?
Yeah, there's a possibility of that. Yeah, so I think it's more tempting. But then there's always the hard part of those guys, you know what I mean? Like, those guys too, are they playing? Like, you look at the teams across the league right now, of the guys like the guys for the Bills that played today. You know what I'm saying? So there's that fine line, because you want to get to week 1 and you want your guys for week 1. We know what those starters can do. So that's why when you're trying to develop a quarterback like we are with Justin, we're going to look back at this and you say, man, it's hard. It's hard to get to that. It's hard to evaluate with the variable. It's not hard to evaluate, but it's hard to be perfect with all the variables. So we got to evaluate.
Safe to say that the plan continues, that Andy's week 1, Justin's the backup.
Yeah, and for us, again, what we said is we're going to continue to always evaluate that position and see where they're at. And I think that, again, you got to look at Andy and what I know, like, he's more frustrated than anybody right now. He wants to get that rhythm. He wants to get that swag. He wants to get those first downs. He wants touchdowns with his guys. Because in practice, when we're out there with those guys and we're rolling, like, you feel it. We see it. And that's the part that we like. So we know that, and I think in the end, we also are super excited at the fact of how Justin's playing right now when he's out there. You feel it, right? You feel what he can do. So that's a good thing, and we want to make sure that our staff understands that, and then we got to, as we're rolling here, these guys just got to continue to just freaking keep competing and keep playing, man. Every opportunity you get, try your best.
2 more.
How much stock do you put into, as far as Andy's concerned, how much stock do you put into his preseason performance, and is there any correlation with that in the regular season?
Yeah, no, the stock of Andy for us is going to be something for us is seeing what he does during the season. That's how we got to be able to see what can Andy do during the season with this team and with these guys. That has been our plan this whole entire time. At the same point in time, we also need to evaluate and see where Justin's at and what he can do. And again, he's doing everything that we're asking him to do. He's doing great. So I think it's a good situation for us, and I truly understand the I don't know what the word would be, but the want for people to want to see more Justin and all that. I get that. But we also understand where we're at and what the true plan is, and all we can do is ask Justin to keep playing, and he's doing it, and Andy to keep playing, and Nick to keep playing.
Justin converted 4th and 3 for you.
Yeah.
I think in this situation, you're going to go for 4th and 3 in the preseason all day. But up the road in the regular season, does he open up more 4th and short aggressiveness for you just because he can make plays happen with his legs?
Yeah, well, again, when you have a guy like him that can use his legs, it's going to stress any of these defensive coaches out. So, there's a benefit of that. And again, the preseason is a little, I mean, obviously some of these calls you wouldn't make out here, but we're trying to get more reps to be able to see what he can do. But yeah, certainly. I mean, he's done that his whole career. He's played quarterback, but used his legs when he's had to. So that part I like. But overall, those quarterbacks right now, I know the last 2 games now, it's been frustrating with the first down, not getting first downs, not getting, scoring points, that sort of thing. We know that, we understand that, but our guys know it too. They know it and they feel it. And I like the David Montgomerys, the Allen Robinsons, the Moonies, they're on the sideline, the Kometz, they're on the sideline like talking through like, hey, if we see this or if that happens, they're like coaches. And so, it's a credit to them. And that's the part is all in all, is this who we are as an offense right now? No, it's not who we are. But this is an evaluation process for us and for every coach in the NFL right now.
Matt, when you said appendix, is it a fear of appendicitis or naked?
That I don't know. I'm honestly not sure. I just know he's being looked at right now. And so he's hopefully he's okay. All right, guys. Thank you.